is no plot. I mean, there is plot, but really it's mainly just sitting. Hello fellow book nerds, this is Gabby and this is my October wrap up. Yay! The month starting the spooky season, because I think November is also the spooky season, is over now. I was participating in Hocus Pocus readathon. It was really fun, but I failed it miserably. I think I read 2 books for that, did complete some challenges, and the readathon was taking place in the first 2 weeks of October, so let's jump into those books and talk about them first. So the first book I read was Gone Girl by Gillian Flynn. So this book follows a story of a husband whose wife one day just disappears. There's a little bit of a crime scene in his house going on, but no one really knows what happened to her, and the story is just trying to figure out what actually happened. He gets kind of looped into the investigation and we're thinking, did he do it? Is she dead? Is she alive? What is happening? I watched the movie first before reading the book, and I think that was a big mistake. I don't know if it was a mistake, but I think it's either or, at least for me. Like, the movie, when I first watched it, I loved it so much. It was really good, but it was good because of all the twists and turns and the plot progression and also the filmmaking, because I recently watched it and I didn't love it as much, but still, and the filmmaking, like, it was just so well done, and the book was really well written as well. I just don't think I was interested because I knew what was happening, so I was just like, just get through this, because the first half was just dragged why is this happening all the time? The first half just really dragged for me, and I knew that better stuff was coming, so I just really was looking forward to that. And you know, like the whole cool girl monologue, that was so powerful in the movie for me. I definitely think it suffered because I knew the story and it is a thriller, so you do want to read the thriller fresh because you're reading it for the story. The characters were really unlikable though. Like, I didn't like anyone. Like, there was not a single character I actually liked, but it was the point. That was the point of it. They're all awful people and you dislike all of them. So, and I gave this 3 out of 5 stars. So I was Team Sanderson for the Hocus Pocus readathon, and this book filled the burning rain of death. Read a book that frightens you. And the reason, it's not because I thought it would be scary, because like I said, I knew the story, so I didn't feel frightened by that. I was quite sure I wouldn't like it as much as the movie. So I was scared I wouldn't like it as much as I liked the movie, and I didn't. The next book I read was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. So I decided to participate in Boneathon, which is hosted by Ashley from Frolic Fiction. I've never actually heard about this book that much. I feel maybe it was popular before my time on BookTube. Basically, I retweeted Ashley's tweet and won ticket to go see Samantha Shannon in Sheffield, and I went to her talk and it was really good. I immensely enjoyed it, and on my way there I bought the book. I read the Priory of the Orange Tree before and I really enjoyed it, but I read it as an audiobook. Let's give this a chance. Readathon is happening. So yeah, Bone Season is the readathon for the Bone Season series, and we're gonna read this one, and next month is the Mime Order. And this was such a surprise. It's kind of a dystopian world where there are people who are clairvoyant, and that means they can interact with with ghosts, and some of them can see the future, and different types of clairvoyant have different abilities. And the girl we meet in here, she's one of the clairvoyants, and she is a part of underground crime syndicate. I don't want to say more because I was really surprised what it actually was about. Honestly, first 200 pages, I loved this so much that I don't know why I became just so enthralled in the world and just obsessed with reading this book, and it was really good all the way through. I'm not saying, oh, I didn't enjoy this part, I'm just saying I was obsessed with the first half, and it just felt so refreshing for some reason. I don't know what it was, I can't pinpoint it, but it just felt so refreshing. And then I also haven't read dystopias in such a long time that this was really cool as well, to be a bit thrown back. There's a bit of a romance, but it's a really small part. For like a large portion I thought there would be no romance, but that was kind of refreshing and unique, because sometimes I feel like a lot of books I read, and I enjoy them, I read them for a reason, I'm not complaining about this, I'm just saying that a lot of books I read, they're fantasy, but the romance can be like very very forefront. I feel like the books I'm reading now maybe less so, but books I was reading like 2 years ago, romance is the plot. The romance is the main focus and the fantasy is just like sprinkled around. That was different from what I'm used to. I really like the main character. She's really headstrong, but in a way that didn't annoy me, because usually the headstrong characters really annoy me because I'm like, just stop and think. But she actually asks a lot of questions, is really inquisitive, and I appreciated that because she was in a possible situation. And if you're in a situation like this, you want to know answers. One thing that I would say is that every other character except for Paige was really underdeveloped. First of all, I remember like a handful. Second of all, I don't feel like I know anything about them. I know this is quite a long series, so maybe that's why, but some of them we met and we were supposed to believe that Paige is best friends with them, or she would like risk her life for them. And I know that she is a very altruistic character, and I do believe that she would do this, but at the same time I don't feel like, just say that she doesn't know them, but she's so kind and passionate, she'll sacrifice her anyway, instead of making it like, oh, but because they're such close friends and they have this bonds. But I don't buy it. Like, I don't know anything about any of the secondary characters. I feel like the world could use a little bit more explaining. I'm sure it's gonna happen. Like I said, it's at least 5 books from what I think, so I'm sure it's gonna get developed and we're gonna find out, but for now it's a bit underexplained. So the bonus season filled the Master Satan is pleased with you. Read a book with a powerful villain, because the villain in this, I'm not gonna tell you, but they were freaking scary. Then I finally finished The Well of Ascension by Brandon Sanderson. So I've been listening to this on audiobook, and I love audiobooks, but I only really listen to them if I'm doing something. So I'm either walking to uni or I am cleaning, and that's pretty much it. Yeah, so Well of Ascension. This book is freaking slow, man. And most of it is really politics, intricacies of politics. So it's just people sitting there and talking and just no progression in the story. Months pass and nothing really happened. Like, they'd be like, oh, we've been in this situation for a month now. I'm like, how the hell? Legit, I think the course of this book takes place like months, if not a year. But nothing happened. And the thing is, right, so nothing happens for 80% of the book or 90% of the book. And then the last 20 to 10% are just so good. And you're mind blown. And you're like, oh my god, so much has happened. All my expectations are subverted. You kind of forget how nothing happened. And I was commenting on video of of Death books. I think he was talking about Well of Ascension actually, and I said something like, oh yeah, I was like, I'm really enjoying it, but I'm only this much into it. And he was like, yeah, but it's a really slow book, so I'm now nervous that the hero of ages. And I was like, huh, that's what's been bothering me. I feel like sometimes I just go along with the book, and even if it's slow, especially if it's an audiobook, I don't notice this as much. I found out that my favorite character is always Vince's sidekick. So it used to be Caesar, which I thought it was Caesar all this time because the way the audiobook narrator is pronouncing it, and then I tried googling it and I couldn't find anything because it's Caesar, not Caesar. Yeah, I'm an idiot, just ignore me. It used to be him, and now it's the Condra. I don't remember which character did it or what, but I wrote in my notes, called the warning self-harm, so just be careful. Like 99% of this book, except for being slow, is also the relationship drama between Vin and Ellen. And it's just them. Oh no, we can't be together because I'm not good enough. Oh my god, does she like me? Does he like me? Does she like me? What does he like me? Just all the bloody time. There were some remarks that didn't sit well with me, like Vin, the main character. She's just a lot, I'm not like other girls, but in a very annoying way, where she's like all the other, I think this is a quote because I wrote it, irrational young woman. And she kept thinking that, oh, Ellen deserves an irrational young woman, basically. And what she means by that is just a woman who likes dresses and dressing up, and she isn't that, so clearly she can be a woman, like, because there's only one way. And I know it's kind of challenged, but is it really? Like, she keeps thinking that 99% of the time she's just like, I am not right for him. And I'm like, you know what, if you're gonna be like this, maybe you're not. Ellen's such a bloody idiot. Like, I was just thinking like Jon Snow with his righteousness and the idiot. But yeah, the ending was really good, so I gave it 4 out of 5. This fit the prompt of the Sanderson sisters have written, read a book with a female protagonist. Then I read Horror Store by Brady Hendrick. Takes place in Orsk, which is a knockoff IKEA, and that's not just me saying that, they say this in the book, that they're a knockoff of IKEA. So there's some weird stuff that starts to happen in the store. There's some vandalism on it, really gross stuff, and clearly someone's been there, and like it's been going on for a while. So the manager of the store asked the main character, some other characters, to stay overnight night to catch the vandal red-handed. This book was really good plot-wise. I thought it was interesting, but the coolest thing about it, the reason why I picked it up and why I loved it so much is just the design. So it's designed to look like an IKEA catalog. It's made to look like an IKEA catalog with all those pages, and you can see descriptions of the like this, and each chapter starts like this with a description of furniture. I thought it was a little bit underdeveloped. I thought there was much more room for scares, but also just more of the story, because it felt really like it was over quite quickly. But at the same time, I gotta give them props to the creativity, and if you're a horror noob and you're not that experienced like me, I think that would be good for you. So I gave it 4 out of 5 stars. So now let's move on to my favorite book I read this month. I don't actually know why I loved it as much as I did. So this was The 10,000 Doors of January by Alex E. Harrow. I read this on ebook, and I'm kind of sorry I didn't buy it in a physical copy because I really want to own it, so I'm gonna buy one when paperback comes out. This story takes place in Victorian times, and it follows January, whose mom has passed away when she was a little child, and her dad is kind of like treasure hunter. I wouldn't call him an archaeologist, but he works for this very rich man, and he goes all over the world and collects artifacts and brings them back. Because he has such a hectic career, hectic life, January lives with the man who's her father's employer, who's quite kind to her, and he's been more of a father to her than her actual father. And in this world there are doors, so this is doors with a capital D, as the main character says, and they lead you to different worlds. It's kind of like in between worlds adventure, but at the same time it's not. It's a lot about family, where you're from, who you really are, how to find your way, how to become independent. It has very, very metaphor full writing, if that's a thing. It's a very slow burn. This was actually a buddy read. So I read this with Alyssa from Pages and Ink and Kira the Bookbella. We all really liked it, and they did say that it had quite a slow beginning, and I really agree with that. It's a really slow burn, but it's kind of on purpose because you're really supposed to get to know the main character, and that's the important part. There was something so magical about it, and how light it made me feel, and how it really spoke to me, and I felt really emotional towards the end of the book. There was a lot of room for growth as well. I feel like there's a lot of unanswered questions, and kind of like, okay, so what's happening now? Like, what are we gonna do about this? This is not really tied in a knot. If I'm being honest, I'm okay with this being a standalone and not being tied into a neat bow. It's a story about family, you know, and about finding yourself, and it's a different kind of story. So for that reason, I really enjoyed it. I gave it 5 out of 5, which I don't do that often. It's not like craft wise or anything superior to other 4-star books I gave, but it's just the feeling, how it made me feel, and it just feels so important to me for some reason. I don't even know why. So let's move on to the last book I read this month, and I actually didn't even finish it. So this is A Discovery of Witches by Deborah Harkness. So I am 536 pages in, and this has 690 pages. I will finish this. I reading it, quite enjoyed it. It really reminds me of Twilight. So it follows the story of this witch who her whole life she's been kind of repressing her power. She is a historian, and during her research one time she brings forth this manuscript that is very old, and it's enchanted, and turns out everyone's always wanted it, and this world also has vampires and demons. She and the vampire get to some hanky-panky. So my biggest issue with this book is that absolutely nothing, and I mean nothing, happens. It's just so boring. There is no plot. I mean, there is plot, but really it's mainly just sitting, and the main character is the most passive main character I've read about for a while. She makes 0 decisions. There's no one decision she actually made. Most of them I just kind of brought upon her by plot or her vampire love interest. He's like, we're gonna do this. She's like, I'm not gonna do it. He's like, you're gonna do it. She's like, okay, fine, I'm gonna do it. So annoying. I'm just so sick of this book. I think if it was much shorter, maybe around 300 pages, which is half, it would be quite enjoyable. I would have been done with it by now, so I wouldn't have accumulated or this rage that I'm still reading this and I want to DNF it, but now it's getting more interesting, so I'm kind of like, okay, now I need to finish because I want to know what happens. Someone told me on Twitter that the sequel is good, but the third book, if I think nothing's happening in this one, I shouldn't read the third one, so I'm not even gonna bother with reading the second one. Honestly, I think I might give the TV show a try because I heard someone told me that all the slow parts were removed and only the best parts were left. Yeah, I hate the main character. She, all anyone talks about is how much spirit she has and how she's such a fighter, but honestly she's done nothing. She's made no decisions. She just gets rescued all the bloody time, and I did like her in the beginning. I felt like, okay, maybe she has something interesting. No, there's nothing interesting. There's absolutely zero. You think Bella's boring? And I don't like the Matthew character, which is the vampire love interest, either. He is the worst. He has so many rules about possession, and they're trying to make it kind of sexy because they're like, oh, you don't know anything about vampires, that's how vampires are. And he's not just like this towards Diana, the main character, but all the women in his life. And literally, like, when we find out about him, they say that he hates women. And when they argue, he just gets really, really aggressive. I don't know, he's just so toxic. There's nothing swoony about him. The thing I did like about the first half of the book, and I think that's what got me going, is honestly the sexual attraction. It's like so full of teasing, but it can't carry the whole book. I wrote, Diana is the most bland, annoying character to ever live. She has absolutely zero agency, and not even one plot point is instigated by decisions she makes. 9% of the time, she's unconscious. Anyways, and all everyone talks about is how brave and powerful she is, which is just a joke. Do whatever Matthew says seems to be the mantra of every single character. What bothered me about this is that it's trying to be, oh, this is a strong female character because she's so strong, because she keeps saying no. But she says no and then gives in 5 minutes later. For example, he's like, oh, let me pick you up. She's like, no, I'm gonna do the stairs by myself. Oh my god, you can't pick me up. And then he argues like, no, let me. And she's like, no, let me. Okay, fine. It's not a strong female character if she gives in every single time to everything he wants, and it's just so fake to me. This didn't bother me as much, but I know some people it bothers. So this is written in first person, but there's 3 chapters, literally 3, where it randomly switches to third person because it's not following Diana anymore. So every time it's first person, it's following Diana, but then she's unconscious so much that sometimes we need to know what's happening. Therefore, someone else kind of overtakes, but it's third person, so we learn what other people think. And if you want to make that decision, fine, but if you just do it 3 times, it feels like, oh, that's quite convenient, isn't it? Every time you need to portray something that she can't know, randomly we just switch, but no other time we switch. It's literally just this teasing. I don't even know what it is, but it's really annoying. Yeah, I just said it didn't bother me. I guess it did. Anyway, I don't know what I'm gonna give this book. I'm thinking 2 out of 5 right now, and probably 1 change. It makes me kind of nauseous to read this. And there's some glaring missing points in this video. If you know, maybe you know, I'm doing my Harry Potter reread, and I was supposed to read the 4th one this month. And I think if it wasn't for Discovery of the Witches, I would have. Also, I didn't read the 2nd book in the Shatter Me trilogy. I just don't have time. Oh. I'm really sorry to finish on such a bitter note. I was thinking about this last night, and I was like, me and Discovery of the Witches have some beef. Alright, everyone, I really hope you enjoyed this bitter video for some reason. I don't know, I had a good reading month. Like, I read some nice things. I just feel like I didn't read enough. I've been hearing a lot of people say that October was a really bad month for them. So if it was a bad month for you, don't feel discouraged. It's okay. Like, it's a hobby, you know. This is what we do for pleasure, and I try to tell myself that, because otherwise I just get stressed and I'd be like, oh no, but I didn't do this. Whatever, who cares? This is a hobby and you're supposed to enjoy it. So read however much you read, that's good. And if you read 1 book, that's amazing. If you didn't even read 1, you know what, it's okay. Next month you're gonna read more. Thank you so much for watching. I really hope you enjoyed this. Please comment, let me know how your month went. I'd really appreciate it. Subscribe if you'd like to, and give it a like, that'd be nice. And thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next video. Bye.